Recently, I was asked a very interesting question, and the question was, when can I raise my fees? I suspect that the first issue is, what's the competitive nature of your practice? What's the marketplace in your particular geographic community? You have to understand what the data is before you can understand when you want to raise the fees. However, assuming all that apart and that you have that relevant information, it seems to me that there are some specific times when it's appropriate to raise your fees. So one of the suggestions to when to raise the fee might be when you're involved in a big ticket matter. In other words, if this is a bet the company kind of a case, or you're dealing with some rather well-to-do folks in a family divorce matter, or something of the nature, you can take a look at raising your fees. When the economy is hot and people are doing well, that's when you can raise your fees. And in today's environment, that is becoming a challenge. And in fact, you will find many, even the large law firms, negotiating discounts and lower per hour fees with some of their more important clients because it's just a very tough economy. And hundreds of thousands of people literally are being laid off. And so that's not the time to talk about raising your fees. A third time when you might be inclined to raise your fee is when your client says you're a bargain. When the client says to you words to that effect, you have to have the feeling that from a marketplace in a competitive environment, your fees are lower than others of your colleagues are able to collect. In addition to when your client says you're a bargain, when other lawyers start sending you work and you know that that work is of a low dollar value nature, you know that they're not taking that kind of work. You know that they are charging more to their clients. And so you want to think about raising your client fees. Unless, of course, you're a believer of the fact that volume will make up for lower fees. And in some cases, that's true. But that's at least a warning sign for you to think about what your fee should be. Another time that you can raise your fees is when you look in the mirror and you utter the fee and you can stop laughing. That's not the time to raise the fee. When should you not raise the fee is a flip way of looking at this question. One of the times that you should not raise your fee is after a discussion about your fee with a client and your client says no. In other words, your client, for example, a corporate client, is saying the competitive environment just does not allow that at this time, or our budget will not justify your increased fee, and if you do so, we'll need to look for other counsel. That's not the time to raise your fee. Also, a time not to raise your fee is on the eve of trial or on the eve of a sensitive negotiation. That's not the time to take advantage of a client and try to extract more funds for your fees. Another time not to raise your fee is after you've signed the retainer. When you have an engagement in place, a written engagement, you need to honor that. Do not attempt to raise your fee. One of the things that gives me pause is when some of the engagement agreements say that once a year without notice, or even with notice, you can raise your fee. That concerns me. Unless you are involved in a protracted litigation that might take several years, you don't want to be saddled with a fee that's too low. However, if you can identify the time frame of the project or of the matter, once you have it in writing in your retainer agreement, it seems to me that that's a fee to honor and not to change. There are other nuances to this discussion that we might look at later, but for now, think about when it is you can and should raise your fees. Thanks for joining us.